everybody, and welcome back to our channel. I am Coldfire.
And I'm Kick.
And today we're going to be reacting to Dinner with Madonna from 1991. This was also a Truth or Dare promotion. Here we go. Take it away. Dinner with Madonna, 1991.
But I did see him in the audience at the Academy Awards.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
Tried to throw my earring at him. It hit El Pacino in the eye.
Which one?
Martin Scorsese loses again. I was heartbroken.
Oh God, it was horrible.
It was the
horrible.
worst.
Okay, Robert, let's clear.
Are we close?
And Kurt, you're up.
Okay. Tour films, I think music tour films are always a cliche by now. You follow a band around. This
Yeah.
is nothing like any other tour film that's ever been done, I don't think, since the Rolling Stones, maybe. Did you start out to make this kind of movie, or did it just kind of evolve this way?
It evolved, yeah. We started out just wanting to basically document what we were doing on stage and get some backstage footage to sort of, you know, shoot some black and white backstage stuff to cut away and give you a sense of being on the road, you know, but then I got more interested in the backstage footage, so...
The backstage took over, right?
It absolutely took over. I mean, and my rationalization for that was that I thought it is a live medium.
Yeah.
You know, most people will already have seen the show that want to see the show, and to try and really fully capture that completely, I don't think you'll ever, I think you'll always sell it short,
Yeah.
so let's concentrate on the backstage stuff, because that certainly was more interesting to me, and I mean, we didn't really know exactly what we were doing, but...
When you were watching the rushes, or if you're watching the footage of this and you see yourself in it without makeup and you're wearing this little shower hat and stuff, did you think, gee, should I be doing this? I mean...
No, I said, ooh, I look really grody good.
Why would that be good?
Well, because everybody has a preconceived notion about me, you know, because I love to be glamorous and stuff, but, I mean, to show other dimensions, you have to sort of be willing to get down to the nitty-gritty, undressed, so to speak.
Do you think this is a totally honest movie, the way it's come out?
Totally honest.
Is there anything you've held back at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but there's no way that you could have seen every aspect of my life in 2 hours. I mean,
sure.
the camera, even if the camera followed me around for my entire life, you know, how can you ever really completely know me? But even a lie is very telling. So, you know, I'm not one of those people that think, oh, they know that the camera's on, they're not telling the truth. I mean, if you go into a psychiatrist's office and you say, you know, you sort of change the truth a little bit, or you make, you know, or whatever, there's still something revealing about that. Even a performer who's actually on stage performing, there's something revealing about their persona, their personality, their character.
Do you seek out in your own life? Do you seek total honesty in every situation, or are you?
I seek it out. I can't say that I'm always victorious.
But doesn't if everyone were totally honest 24 hours a day, wouldn't somebody wind up getting hurt eventually?
Yes, because the truth does hurt. I mean, honesty is a frightening concept to most people, but on the other hand, if people got used to it, maybe it wouldn't be so frightening, and that's part of the whole thing about the movie. There's a lot of frightening concepts in the movie, which I think if people would allow themselves to be more open to on a day-to-day basis, it wouldn't be so frightening.
It's like there's a girl, I guess a high school friend of yours, Moira, turns up in this movie, and she's had a tough time, obviously. She wants you to be the godmother of her baby, and then you reveal out of nowhere that this is a woman who taught you how to make out and use tampons and introduced you to digital manipulation, I suppose we could say. That's. I don't think it was cruel, but it's so frank. I mean, she would probably be devastated, I would imagine.
I don't think she'd be devastated. In fact, she knew I was saying those things because she responds to my questions in another interview that she's, like, in other words, Alec, the director, went back to her and said, Madonna says you did this, 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 and she would look into the camera and frankly answer the question. I think if she didn't want to deal with it, she wouldn't have did it on camera. You know, she wouldn't have dealt with it.
And how do you think she comes off in this? She seems...
I think she comes off as a fragile human being, but I do think that comes off as a person that loves me, that cares for me. I mean, and ultimately, I feel that I come off the same way. But the thing about Moira was that I really I hadn't seen her in so many years. And the meeting that we have in the hallway is a surprise. The director set the whole thing up and had her there waiting while I'm rushing out to go to a sound check. My head is spinning. I'm thinking about a million things. The next day is the Dick Tracy premiere, whatever, and I'm thinking, oh my God, now I have to deal with this. I mean, it's like an explosion from my past,
Yeah.
you know. And those things that I said about Moira were, you know, part of an interview that Alec conducted where he was asking me about her and stuff. And it was really a coincidence that in Japan I start talking about her, you know, and I said to my makeup artist, you know, you remind me of somebody. And then it was a coincidence that I would happen to run
Yeah.
into her because I had no idea where she lived. So
There's another. We don't meet a lot of your family in here. We know you have one brother on tour with you. He's an
Yeah.
artist, but we meet Martin, your other brother, in this, and he turns up, and he's sort of trying to convince people that he's pretty tight with you too. It's not entirely convincing.
well, he's a bit of a con artist. That's the charming thing about my brother.
But then you're telling us the security guy, if he turns up with his entourage, watch him because my brother's crazy. And then
Yeah.
he turns up late and you've gone to bed.
Yeah.
And this is all being filmed. He
Well,
sort of has
about
to-
5 hours late.
Well,
yeah.
he has to crawl out with his tail between his legs and his friends with him. It's so touching, you know.
Yeah, but that's life, isn't it? I mean, I wanted to show a slice of my life, and
Yeah.
that's part of my life. And in a sense, that is a microcosmic sort of display of my relationship with my brother. I mean, I adore my brother, you know, but he's a real con artist, and in a way, he's a great actor. He's
Yeah.
very entertaining. He has sort of a very dark sense of humor, and that's just, I like the juxtaposition of my relationship with my brother Christopher and my relationship with my brother Martin, you know, because Christopher's very much a part of my life
Yeah.
and always has been. You know, when I left and moved to New York, he came to New York too, and we are very often, you know, working in the same worlds, whether it's dance or theater or art or whatever. And my brother Martin has a very separate life from mine. He stayed in Michigan. He does very
Yeah.
different things. He has different interests. He evolved in a different way. So I wanted to show that, you know, even though he's my brother, the differences, you know, of somebody. And that happens with friends. I mean, there are people that sort of grow with you and come up with you and you relate to them. And then there's people that they sort of went off on their own thing and did their
Yeah.
own thing. So.
You mentioned in the movie that people talk about how stardom changes you, but they
Yeah.
don't talk about how it changes other people's attitude toward you. Does that apply to your family also? Do they react to you in a different way?
Yeah, to a certain extent. But you have to understand my family's, you know, used to me for a lot longer than everybody
Are they?
else. So, you know, and I actually think they do a pretty good job of dealing with it all. My father's very good at sort of making sure that, you know, nobody gets treated differently than I certainly don't get any sort of star treatment when I go home, and he's as interested in the accomplishments of my other brothers and sisters as he is in mine. So, but it is to a certain extent, like I have certain brothers and sisters that don't like to call me by my first name now because the whole world calls me by my first name, so they call me by my middle name.
What do they call you?
Louise.
Louise?
Mm-hmm.
You don't seem like a Louise. I'm not sure if that would work.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Kurt.
Yeah. There's like Kevin Costner also crops up in this. I thought it was really hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
is he aware that his little
That he's-
vignette in here is going to be
Yes.
in the movie?
Yeah, he knows it.
How does he feel about that?
I don't know, I haven't asked him. But do you have his phone number? I mean, we could call him up right now.
Well, maybe afterwards.
No, I don't, you know, I don't, I know I'm making fun of him to a certain extent. I'm basically, you know, I think Kevin has this sort of real Jimmy Stewart, aw shucks kind of image, you know, and you know, I just was teasing him about it, and I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable about showing that scene in the movie if I didn't make fun of myself constantly throughout the whole movie, so.
No. Has your father gotten used to the fact now? I know he's saying in this film he's objecting to the sexy parts of the show and says, "I know it's already." And has he gotten used to the fact that you're sort of flaunting your boobs all over magazines?
I think
and
his
stuff?
you know, his kind of protesting of it, you know, is almost like a reflex more than a, because I know he expects it of me now, and
Yeah.
he doesn't, you know. Well, it was a little, you know, it was a little racy in some sections. Well, you know, I mean, he would never be specific
No.
with me.
He knows
and I
she's
go,
gonna
yeah,
do
yeah,
whatever.
right, Dad, and then we go on to the next subject.
No. Why did you decide to go to your mother's grave site? That seemed like maybe pushing it. I'm sure some people will feel that's pushing things too far to take a camera crew to your mother's grave. I mean, you think it was tasteless? Or?
Why? What's tasteless about it? My mother's death is a big part of my life.
Yeah, but taking a camera crew there, I think people might say, well,
Well, they would probably think if they were offended by that, then they would think that the interview with my friend Moira and my brother Martin and all the other really revealing things
Yeah.
would be, I would think they would find the whole thing offensive.
you think some of your fans might? I mean, your fans go down to, I'm sure, 12 and below, no doubt. Do you think this is a movie for all of them? Do you think everybody should see it, or should it just be, it's an R-rated film now?
It's an R-rated film. I think that teenagers could certainly see it. Beneath the age of, what, I don't know, like 13 or something, I would, you know, I think it would be good if a parent, if the kid like insisted they wanted to see it, that their parent was there to make sure to explain things to them that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the, you also mentioned here that your mother, when your mother died, you thought that you couldn't understand what she had done wrong, and you wondered if you had done something wrong. Is guilt
Right.
like a part of the Catholic guilt sort of thing, a motivating part of what you do?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, one of the many motivating things in my life, guilt. Yeah, sure.
Have you gotten beyond it? I mean, have you?
Little by little, but it's very slow progress, you know, because I don't know, there's a certain kind of humility that's taught in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
you know, and there's a constant striving and a certain work ethic and an idea that, you know, you're not supposed to really indulge yourself too much and to have many sensual pleasures or things
Yeah.
like that. And one is brought up to believe in those things and to sort of live a puritanical life. And so you think, wow, I live in this beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills, and I can, have private planes, and I can have all these luxuries. And every once in a while you go, but God, you know, do I deserve it? And when I look at my friends and members of my family who aren't as lucky as I've been, and
Yeah.
of course, then that also makes me feel guilty.
Do you look at it as luck, or do you not just look at it as achievement?
Absolutely achievement. I worked very hard for what I have, but I was lucky to have the nerve and the courage to do what I do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, most people who've gone through what I've gone through would have a very long tail between their legs.
Would they?
So, well, maybe.
I mentioned to you before we started here that this woman, Camille Paglia, who was an art professor in Philadelphia, wrote a book called Sexual Personae, Attacking Academic Feminists. Wrote in the New York Times when Justify My Love came out that she thought it was pornographic, she thought it was great, MTV shouldn't have shown it, and Madonna is the future of feminism. And I'm sure a lot of feminists probably disagree with this. Do you hear from academic feminists a lot?
I'm made aware of a lot of articles that are written. I know that at one point, I know they were teaching some course on me at Brown University.
Madonna
I think.
101 or
something like that, yeah. And I've met, for instance, I was in the south of France, and this girl came up to me, and she said she was like a hardcore feminist, working on her master's. I don't know if it was at Harvard or whatever, and she was very, she had all this literature that she said my name came up a lot in, and she said I was the topic of many discussions, but she was very into me and what I was doing, and she thought it was great. And so I knew that I had, I'm aware of certain aspects. I also know that Bella Abzug attended one of my concerts in New York, which I thought was hysterical. I mean, I'm flattered,
I mean, do you see yourself, do you ever think about feminism yourself, or do you just see yourself carrying out your life?
I'm carrying out my life. I mean, I think about humanism. I think the things that I feel like need to be changed. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of sexism. I'm aware of racism. I'm aware of homophobia. I'm aware of all of these things. When I started out, I didn't go, okay, these are all these things, these subjects. It's just that I want to tackle, that I want to attack head on, that I want to try and make a change about. But that's sort of the way my life's gone, and it's almost it's a responsibility that sort of fell on my lap that I actually welcome.
Yeah. I think what Professor Paglia is saying is that feminism has failed because it's forgotten about pleasure, and you're bringing that back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Did you? There's a vignette in the film which shows a gay pride parade in New York, and has Queer Nation is in there. I wonder if you're aware of the group in New York that is now putting out posters that say "Absolutely Queer," and they'll have a picture of a very hot young actress or a very well-known TV.
Outing.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think of that practice?
I think it's a tough one. I think, it's it's an explosive issue, really. You know, on the one hand, I can see their point of view, the people that want to out people, and saying, you know, if you people in powerful positions would come out and say they were gay, then the masses, or the people that don't understand, or the people that have prejudice against homosexuals and gay lifestyles or whatever, would see, you know, would get rid of their stereotypes that gay people are, you know, perverts or whatever, you know. If you know, a handful of powerful people would just have the courage to come forth, I think that's their point, you know, and saying, but on the other hand, the other side of the argument is, you know, I'll come out when I'm ready to come out, or I'll say my sexuality or my sexual preference is nobody's business. You know, I mean, there's two sides of the story.
But I think that dominates the argument, though, doesn't it? I mean, people have a right to say what they want when they want to say it.
Yeah.
And also, how do you know these people are gay?
People do have the right to say what they want to say. It's unfortunate that there aren't more outspoken people on gay rights, you know, that are in powerful positions.
Yeah.
You know, that's the unfortunate aspect of it. And it's unfortunate that saying somebody's gay is such a frightening thing in the world today, that it's such a frightening concept, you know.
No doubt, to some extent, because of AIDS, I would imagine.
Absolutely, right? Because of AIDS, yeah.
The premieres for this movie are going to be AIDS benefits, I gather, are they not? And you continue trying to do something. Do you read up on that? Do you try and keep up with what's going on medically with AIDS?
Yeah, I try to. Obviously, I mean, it used to be in the newspapers all the time. Now it's not like front page stories anymore. Yeah. But I get literature from Matilda Krim and you know, APLA and AMFAR and stuff, as far as, you know, recent developments in experimental medications and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Good. I wonder. In the film, there's your visit to Toronto is portrayed, and we had originally understood that you actually had to leave Toronto, escape Toronto, essentially, and run away. Is that what happened there? What was the upshot of all
we
that?
didn't. Well, I didn't really know until I was told that they will, if they're going to arrest you, they will be waiting for you at the end of the show. So the idea was, okay, well, if they don't, they may change their minds, so we better get the hell out of here, you know, before they do change their minds. So in other words, don't go back to the hotel and spend the night and leave the next day. So we sort of packed up and were ready to go.
Beat a retreat out of the fascist state of Toronto.
Yes,
and
exactly.
referred to it.
You got out of Dodge.
Will you be going back there ever again?
Oh, I don't think so.
Do you think there's a momentum in what you do that you constantly have to top yourself? I mean, especially after this movie, after Justify My Love.
It's not an idea the idea isn't that I have to top myself, but that I have to, you know, I have to expand my own horizons and tackle the next issue, or go further in terms of creativity and what it is I want to say and what it is I want to do. I mean, I don't want to just keep doing the same thing and saying the same thing. And the thing is that the issues that I'm interested in life are generally controversial issues, so it seems that I'm trying to do that, you know.
Yeah, well,
but for me, I don't question it. It's like, this is what I have to do.
But you will have to do something more spectacular each time, I would imagine.
Well, doesn't everybody? I mean,
well, so few people actually succeed in doing it, but you've been very successful in doing it.
Right, well, I guess they're not as masochistic as I am.
I mean, might there come a time when you just take the opposite tack and appear all buttoned up and, I don't know, with a parasol or something?
Well, I'm not going to tell you, because then it won't be a surprise. You see, that will be another spectacle in itself.
That's true. Maybe it's down the road a ways, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the whole Justify My Love.
Brouhaha.
Brouhaha, yes.
Oh, but can we talk about it on MTV?
I think we can.
Okay.
You know? Some of us wanted to see it shown on MTV, maybe late at night.
We won't name any names, will we, Kurt?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I wonder what you made of the subsidiary controversy with the track being lifted from Public Enemy, and Lenny Kravitz is getting a lot
Yeah,
of...
but Public Enemy lifted the track from James Brown. I mean, if we talk
Well,
about...
now they say they brought musicians in to do that track. They say that's a musical track they created.
Yes, but I challenge any rap artist to talk about originality, because they all rip off tracks from everybody else. I mean, that is the essence of rap music.
Yeah.
You know, they have. One would hope they have political messages or something to say in their rap, but generally it's all music borrowed from other people.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think this is a good thing, or is it simply theft?
I think it's inevitable. I mean, I borrow from people all the time in my work, in my videos. I pay tribute to painters and photographers and dancers and so on and so forth. And I think that it's inevitable, and I think one should look at it as flattery, you know, or sort of an homage being paid to somebody.
I know Public Enemy has talked about maybe working with you. They could really show you how this is done.
Hell, I'd love to work with Public Enemy. They are my #1 favorite rap group.
Really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the Ingrid Chavez controversy? She claimed she did the songs and you just overlaid vocals on top of it.
Yes, I was aware of it, but when Lenny Kravitz brought me the song, I didn't know anything about the fact that he had worked with Ingrid Chavez. I mean, I was completely innocent in this situation. And Lenny brought me a track with, with vocals, with the lyrics written, and then I came in and changed the things that I wanted to change vocally or lyrically, and then did, my version of it. So if Ingrid did have something to do with...
Let's see how far it takes to catch
him
up.
I'll tell you this much. Kurt can actually, for being on MTV, he actually asks the questions. And I think she likes doing interviews with him.
Well, he stood by her through all that.
Yeah, I know. I think he wanted her Justify the Love video to be on there.
He did not believe in censorship whenever he was telling the big executives at MTV. He's like, listen, Rock, we made a channel for artists to do videos for people to see and interpretation and everything. And now you're going to start censoring certain things. He's like, and once you censor one thing, you're going to have to censor this, and then you got to censor that. He said, then we're going to turn into no TV. He said, because...
And look at that, they did.
And they did, because that's when VH1 picked up and started playing it. Now all you find on MTV is reality shows, and I think VH1's now doing it, if they even exist anymore.
I don't even know if they do it.
But yeah, they don't do I mean, MTV used to be 24 hours a day of nothing but videos.
But anywho, no, I mean, they still exist because I've seen them. I've seen MTV on one of the channels that one of the websites I subscribe to. But I don't subscribe to it anymore. But yeah, there was an MTV and it played videos.
Yeah.
But they have like 5 different things, but I don't think anybody watches them anymore. All right.
And Kurt,
Okay.
rolling, wait for speed, and in 5, 4, you got it.
Technical
There's
difficulties.
a very touching part in the movie where you mentioned that the great love of your life is Sean. You mentioned this in Vanity Fair and other interviews too. This is kind of sad. I mean, we seem to. I think of you now as being sort of a sad and lonely person. Is that
You don't have to think of me as being a sad and lonely person all the time, but some of the times, I think, but everybody is. And at this point in my life, I could say that he was the great love of my life. I mean, that's why I married him. And I think most people have that one person, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the person that you're, live and die for, the person that gets right down in your heart and soul, and makes that big impression. I think everybody has it. I don't know. I mean, it'd be great if it would happen again. But I think most people can say they have that one,
I mean, being Madonna, is there a problem of like who's good enough for Madonna? Like, what guy could possibly live up to this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a question of who's good enough, but really who is willing to sort of accept my lifestyle, and be able I mean, let's face it, it's a tough lifestyle to live, especially if you're not in it, doing it all the time. And I've had years to acclimate myself to the insanity of my life. Other people don't, and most people are pretty sort of want to shy away from it, or frightened by it, or intimidated by it. And I mean, I think I've said this before in interviews. My hat's off to any guy who has the balls to ask me out. You know what I mean? And then I always follow up by, you do know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Do you think of yourself as obsessive? I mean, just totally nuts about getting everything in order and in control?
Yeah. I'm a control freak. Yeah, if that's what you're asking.
Do you see that as a flaw, or?
I think it can be a flaw if I'm not willing to accept weaknesses in people, and But on the other hand, that's one of the reasons I've accomplished so many things. And because of that. Because I get a lot done because I work my ass off, and the things I do, for the most part, are pretty damn good. And the reason is because I have high expectations of myself and other people,
Yeah.
So.
Do you also express a desire at some point to have children or something?
Yeah.
Could you do that with the lifestyle that you have? I mean, would it be
No, well,
nice, or-
obviously things would have to change. I mean, I couldn't go on tour for a certain period
Yeah.
of my life. I couldn't, run 10 miles. I mean, there would be changes made,
Yeah.
But I have to look at it as another adventure or another thing to conquer. You know what I mean? That's how I have to look at it.
Yeah. You've made some interesting television appearances over the last year. One was on Nightline. I don't think people understand how Nightline is set up. Maybe you could explain it. It's not like some guy is talking directly to you.
Nightline is insane. Well, Nightline is like being a kamikaze pilot. Well, you sit there and you've got this little earpiece in your ear that you can barely hear a person talking to you on, and the person you're talking to is somewhere else, not in the
Yeah.
room with you. And you actually can't see him, because if you look at him, then you're looking into the monitor, so you have to look into the camera
Yeah.
as if the person is the camera, and barely hear what the person's saying, and then there's a delay to what he's saying. So you sort of seem idiotic because you're not really sure what he said, and you don't answer him right when he said it. It's very, it's high anxiety
Yeah.
time.
It's unusual that someone who's so interested in control would put themselves in that position. I mean, where do you...
Well, I am interested in control, but I often put myself in positions where I could fail miserably. I mean, any time a person walks on stage, anything could go wrong, and then you could fall flat on your face and look like a fool.
Yeah.
But I was willing to take that risk at that particular time because I felt like everybody was, going on the bandwagon saying why I did this and what this was about, and I thought, you know what, let me just try and, give my point of view and maybe calm a few nerves, or not calm a few nerves, explain my side of the story,
Yeah. Have the people at MTV come to you and said, we hope your next video will be a little more airable, or?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
I'm sure they're
They're
hoping
not that foolish.
You also, when you appeared at the Academy Award show, you seemed to, when there was a very tight close-up, and you seemed to be a little nervous. Of
Yes.
course, in front of a house like that, I can understand that.
Well, how about how there was a billion people watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous.
Did you, looking back at the performance, were you happy with it and everything?
Overall, God, yeah. I mean, I was just grateful I got through it. I had so many things working against me. I had never performed live with a 50-piece orchestra
Yeah.
before, and that was daunting in itself. And then the microphone that I sang with was supposed to come sort of telescope out of the ground. And as I was coming out of the ground, a techie underneath the stage said, your microphone isn't going up. And so I'm sitting there, in my very glamorous pose, trying to look,
Never did
like
that.
perfection, and I'm thinking, great, I'm going to walk forward and there's going to be no microphone, and then what am I going to do? So I thought, well, don't look, don't panic, just look good for the first 30 seconds, and then you can fall apart, because, everyone says first impressions are the most lasting. So, of course, there was a mic stand, but it wasn't my height, and when you do a live performance, you have to sort of get through all the things
Yeah.
that aren't exactly perfect, and it's inevitable that something will go wrong.
Yeah.
And the more experience you have dealing with those things, they are. And so I think I did pretty well.
I would have died, I'm sure,
Yeah.
if something like that
I
happened.
was
think
nervous,
she did
I was
very
nervous,
well for
but,
the circumstances.
I felt good about it. So.
Did you attended this with Michael Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
of course. Was this something you guys sat down and plotted out beforehand and said we're just going to knock
No, we
everybody's socks
started.
off?
No, we started working together, and I didn't have a date for the Academy Awards, and
A comment in itself on our culture. I think.
absolutely. And I said, well, and Michael was like, well, who are you going to go with? And I looked at him, I said, I don't know, you want to go? And he said, yeah, that'd be great.
Did he pick you up at your house? Was it one of those deals? or-
No, he didn't pick me up at my house because I was already there. I had to do a run through of the show right before the show, so I was there ready. So he came and hung out backstage, and then went out and watched the show and my performance, and then I came and sat down with him.
So now, afterwards, after the show and everything, did you and Michael go home together, or
Uh-huh.
what happened?
Well, no, we went to Spago.
Yeah.
And there was a big party, and we stayed there for hours and hours and hours. And then, yes, he took me home. And now what do you want to know? What happened after that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. All right.
I think we read books, though, quite frankly. We were looking at... I have tons of books on photography.
Yeah.
So that sticks out in my mind.
Did they? What did you been working on? You've done a song with him for his next album, I think, right?
Well,
Is
we're
it-
working on a song.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm a perfectionist, he's a perfectionist, and I'm glad to be working with him, just to have the experience, he's a great musical talent. But, we're going to wait and finish it and then go, okay, do we want to do this? Does he want to put it on his album? Is that the next musical statement
Yeah.
I want to make? It's...
This won't be like thousands of lawyers coming in to discuss it, will it?
No, actually, the business aspect has already been taken care of. This is purely a creative
Wonder if it was ever
question right
done.
now.
There's a part in the movie where you mentioned that you're attracted to emotionally crippled people.
Yeah.
In a way, and so I've always thought maybe Michael sort of fits in there. Is that fair to say something like that?
Well, I mean, when I said I was attracted to emotionally crippled people, I didn't name any names. I mean, the thing is, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say I am an emotional cripple. I mean,
You yourself?
absolutely. I mean, when I say emotional cripples, I mean people that are very needy in some way or another,
Yeah.
people that aren't fully evolved human beings. And no, I'm not, but I'm working on it. And I think most performers or entertainers or actors are emotionally crippled in some way or another. I think that's one of the reasons we seek out other people's approval in the business that we are. That's why we are entertainers, quote unquote. That's why we are actors playing out different roles, I think most actors, performers, singers, whatever, are emotionally crippled in some way or another. Really healthy people just aren't in this business, let's face it.
Do you see yourself getting better? I mean, do you notice I'm better this year than I was last year?
Yeah. And in fact, working on this movie has been a real educational experience in terms of me
Yeah.
and my emotional state of mind. I think it was a real learning experience about myself, to watch myself, view myself, hours and hours of footage, seeing the sort of the little nuances of the way I deal with people, how I deal with obstacles and how I deal with surprise, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was real educational, and I think it was valuable. I can't even tell you how valuable it was.
I can imagine. And there's a part in the movie where you also say that I may not be the world's best singer, I may not be the world's best dancer, but I don't care about that. I'm interested in pushing people's buttons.
Right.
And do you see that as your art form?
No, I see that as my. I just think that it's pointless for people to get into a creative arena and say, I want to be the best.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has what they have. They say what they say, and you could never compare, Picasso with Leger. I mean, everybody has something different to say. And it's silly to get in there and say my brushstroke is better than another person's. It's better to say, am I being true to myself, and is this what I want to say, and have I expressed myself, the way I want to express myself?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
There's also a part in the film where you say that this is a theatrical presentation of my music, the show, the whole tour was, and I think there was one lip sync part in the show, which is very clear what it was.
Yeah.
I wonder what you make of, there seems to be a reaction against lip syncing and against the whole sort of artifice of what a lot of pop music is. Do you have any moral thoughts on that?
My moral thoughts are, since I'm not going around saying, it was never a requirement of me that I sing everything live on stage. I think of myself, as I said, as a politician, as a performer, as an artist. But if sometimes part of my theatrical presentation is to have taped vocals while I'm doing other things, then that's, and people are free to not come to my show because of that. That's their option. When you watch videos, they're not live. Everybody lip syncs, and no one seems to mind that. So, to me, all the grumbling about whether people are singing live or not is just, I think, was started by live musicians who are out of work, you know, and
We don't meet any of your musicians in this movie either, are they?
no, because I likened my live musicians to an orchestra in a pit in terms of servicing my show. You know, I mean, when you see Broadway musicals, they're certainly an integral part of the show, but you don't see them. You know, I wanted a very theatrical presentation, and so I needed dancers/actors to act out things, and the musicians needed to concentrate on playing their musical instruments, so I couldn't expect that of them. And so you don't really see them.
I think what some people object to in all this is maybe not just the stage lip syncing, it's the fact that you can go into a studio now and do a vocal, and if you hit a B flat where there should be a C or something,
You can change
digitally you can change it.
Well, then how do they feel about all the movies they go to see? And, you know, if an actor screws up a line, or, you know, that's why you do 300 takes, you can make the worst actor look great in the editing room. That's the difference between live theater and a movie. That's the difference between a live singer and a studio singer. But one has always had that ability to make a vocal better than it is ever since we've discovered you know studio technology, and now people are acting like it's just something people started doing. It's ludicrous. In the end, the idea is, are you moved by this piece of music or aren't you? If you like it, then you like it, you know. If you don't, you don't for instinctual reasons, you know, something that's identifiable, something that you can't necessarily describe. And, you know, as far as the whole Milli Vanilli, you know, thing, I think it was really unfair to torture those guys, because if someone came up to you on the street and you couldn't sing, and they said, "Look, you want to? I'll make you a star, and all you have to do is look great," you know, would you say no? I mean, most people, I think, would have grabbed at the chance. Your everyday Joe on the street, which is, I think, if anybody was going to be hanged in the square, it was the producer who was responsible for it. He's the one who put the whole thing together.
They were incredibly arrogant, though. And then
yeah, well, I wasn't aware of all of their arrogance. I don't know that, but to you know, this public flogging of people, you know, is so ridiculous and so pointless. Because in the end, if you know, Paula Abdul or Milli Vanilli or whoever made a record and it brought joy to somebody's life, who gives a shit, you know?
I agree. But the thing is, I mean, you can go up on stage and actually sing, and I wonder you sort of wonder if any of these other people could actually get up there and sing in front of as you did at the Oscars. There's no lip syncing involved, you know?
Right. Well, you know, but that's a sign of the times. I mean, that's a different kind of a performer.
Yeah.
You know, and the public has a need for that kind of a performer. I mean, or else these people wouldn't be successful.
Yeah.
You know, like the Monkees and you know, the Partridge Family and all, and the Archies. I mean, there's always been a certain kind of entertainment where real talent, or whether a real musical talent or a real singing talent, was always a question. But
you're not saying the Archies weren't great, are you?
I love the Archies,
okay.
But who the hell was singing? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Ron Dante, one guy, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, but still, I mean, it was a form of entertainment that people enjoyed.
Yeah.
So.
You're right. Did given the fact that you plan things out quite a ways in advance, do you have a film schedule ahead? I mean, we heard that you're supposed to be doing a movie with Demi Moore.
I have a lot of things brewing, you know, but with movies, it's always whatever sort of gets done first. You got to, you know, sometimes there's a script and a director, and the cast is all ready to go, and at other times there's a script and a director, but the other person in the movie just got pregnant.
Yeah.
Which is the case with Demi, and you can't go with that right now. And other times there's the cast and the director are ready to go, but the script isn't ready. And, you know, movies are like 1 billion times harder to make than records, because there's so many people involved, and it takes a long time. And the movie that you think you've been going to do next for a year very often is not the movie you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the movie you're never going to do. So it's hard to say, you know, but I do have a lot of things cooking.
Yeah. Have your films turned out the way you thought they would when they finally come out? Are you sometimes surprised and say, "Oh my God, I didn't think it'd be like that"?
Sometimes they haven't. Sometimes, I mean, I've had, compared to my music career, I've had this much experience in my movie career, and I really want to have more. in my music career, I've had a lot more control. I've had a lot more input. I've been a big collaborator in it. In my movie career, I haven't. I've started threw myself into it without a lot of knowledge, and made a lot of mistakes because of that. But in a movie, you know, you're not in charge. Just because you're the actress, you're not in charge. The director makes choices, the cinematographer makes choices, the writer makes choices, and you hope that when it's all finished, it works.
You should direct, obviously.
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to direct. Yeah.
Do you feel it seems like sometimes people from New York or sometimes people from outside of Hollywood aren't wished the best by Hollywood? I mean, do you think people are sort of against you
I
here?
think people in Hollywood that live in Hollywood don't wish other people in Hollywood the best.
It's that kind of town. Huh?
Oh, don't turn your back. No, it's a cutthroat business, and I think as much as the public wants to build somebody up and see someone succeed and, you know, put them on the cover of all their magazines, and I think that it's human nature to sort of revel in someone else's failures. You know, that's why we have the National Enquirer. You know, because people are as interested in success as they are in failure.
Yeah.
They are as interested in strength as they are in weakness. So. Just as much as someone in Boise, Idaho, I think that, you know, someone living down the street from me would love to see me fall flat on my face, as they would like to see me succeed. You know, it's
so do you look
very
upon
complex.
Do you look upon it as this is part of the deal when some awful story comes out in the Inquirer, you don't get mad, you say...
it goes with the territory, and it's unfortunate, but it goes with the territory.
Yeah. Are you hurt by this stuff? I mean, does it reduce you to tears ever to see some of the stuff that's written about you? Are you a reduced to tears kind of person? I don't know.
No. In the very beginning, I think I was very affected by what people said to me and what people wrote about me. But once you know, like anything, the more it happens to you, the more the better your ability is to laugh it off.
Yeah.
You know, when the nude pictures of me came out in Playboy, I was just, I mean, this was at the very beginning of my fame, so to speak, and I was mortified. I thought I would never work in this town again. You know, I thought that's it, my career's over with. Yeah. But it's not, obviously, and I had to sort of, like, you know, dry my tears and, you know, make a decision. I could either walk out on the street or walk out on a stage and say, look, I don't give a damn, you know, or I could run away with my tail between my legs. And the public also picks up on that, you know, and the frightening thing about the press and that aspect of the press is it's something that you have no control over, you know. And if you go along and you work really hard and you try so hard to make things good, and then all of a sudden something comes out and you have no say in the matter, it's a frightening concept.
Yeah. You've since gone on to do much better nudes, right? Oops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody is making so much fucking noise over...
I guess that wrapped the interview up. She went off on somebody. Somebody was over-talking her. She does not like to be over-talked. Because her time is valuable.
Yep.
And it is.
So,
What's so weird about this is this is like only like 6-7 years into her career, and they're talking like she's been around for like 50-60 years, like megastar.
Thank you.
They don't even realize that she's just got in the car. She ain't even put the seatbelt on and put it in drive yet. Good God. But I love the fact that, you know, she has a purpose for what she does, and she states that, you know, and I like the fact that she humbles herself, you know, and I like the fact that Kurt Loder and her, she respects him, he respects her,
but he knows how to do an interview with her.
Yes, because they were friends.
Yes. And
well, not so much friends, they were
acquaintances.
He worked for MTV, and he saw how unjustly they were doing her.
Yeah. But my thing is that, you know, he asked the questions, she answered the questions. It didn't seem anybody was... she
wasn't shutting him down.
Nobody was uncomfortable.
No.
Well, I think This is what, the second or third interview he's done with her.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of it, he probably knows what to ask her that she would answer versus if he probably already knows. Okay, if I ask her this, she's never going to answer me, so why bother?
Right.
You know. So, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, it was long.
It was.
It
So.
surely was. So we don't want to bore you to death with
Commentary.
nonsense and comments, but hope that you enjoyed this Truth or Dare promo interview from 1991. It's called Dinner with Madonna with Kurt Loder from MTV.
I better go make dinner.
And we have to go feed the dogs and make dinner and rest and
Yay.
just remember that we love you here from our house to your house, wherever it is. You guys stay true to yourself. Bye-bye.